Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The day begins like any other. The sun filters through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the kitchen where I'm sipping my morning coffee. My wife, Lisa, glides around the room, her movements almost too graceful for the mundane task of making breakfast. She's dressed impeccably, as always, in a fitted blouse and jeans that show off her figure. Her hair falls in loose waves over her shoulders, and there's a faint scent of her favorite perfume lingering in the air. "Are you sure you're okay to drive?" I ask, glancing at the clock on the wall. It's almost 9:30, and she has an appointment with Dr. Matthews, our family dentist. She smiles, her lips curving in a way that used to make my heart skip a beat. "I'll be fine, Ethan. It's just a routine checkup." I nod, though there's a nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach. It's been there for a while now, a sense that something isn't quite right. But I push it aside, convincing myself it's nothing more than paranoia. Lisa's been distant lately, but I've chalked it up to work stress. We all go through phases, don't we? She picks up her purse and heads for the door, pausing to give me a quick peck on the cheek. "I'll be back soon," she says, and then she's gone, the sound of her heels clicking on the pavement outside. I try to focus on my own work, but the hours tick by, and that nagging feeling only grows stronger. By the time noon rolls around, I'm restless, unable to concentrate. I check my phone repeatedly, waiting for a message, an update, anything. But there's nothing. It's been nearly 3 hours. A routine dental appointment shouldn't take this long. I decide to call her, just to check in. The phone rings a few times before Dr. Matthews picks up. "Hello." "Hi, this is Ethan. Lisa's husband. I was just calling to check on her. She hasn't come home yet, and I was starting to get worried." There's a brief pause on the other end, and when he speaks again, there's something off about his voice. It's strained, almost too friendly. "Oh, yes, Ethan. Lisa's still here. We're just finishing up. Her mouth is full right now, so she can't talk. But she'll be done soon." His words send a chill down my spine, and I grip the phone tighter. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine," he replies, too quickly. "No need to worry." But I am worried. More than that, I'm suspicious. There's something about the way he's speaking, the way he's trying too hard to sound casual. My instincts are screaming at me that something's wrong. "I'm on my way," I say before hanging up abruptly. I grab my keys and head out the door, my heart pounding in my chest. The drive to the dentist's office is a blur, my mind racing with 1,000 scenarios, each one worse than the last. When I arrive, the receptionist barely looks up from her desk as I storm past her. The door to Dr. Matthews' office is closed, but I can hear muffled voices coming from inside. My hand trembles as I reach for the doorknob, twisting it slowly. The scene that greets me when I push the door open is one I'll never forget. Lisa is there, kneeling in front of Dr. Matthews. Her mouth is full, just as he said, but not with anything related to dentistry. The reality of what I'm seeing slams into me like a freight train, and for a moment, I'm frozen in place, unable to process the horror unfolding in front of me. Dr. Matthews looks up, his face pale with shock. He pushes Lisa away, stumbling back, his pants half undone. Lisa scrambles to her feet, her face flushed with embarrassment and something else, something that looks like defiance. "Ethan, she starts, but I can't bear to hear it. I back out of the room, my mind a whirlwind of rage and betrayal. I turn and walk away, not trusting myself to stay another second in that room. My hands are shaking, my vision blurring with the intensity of my emotions. I make it to the car before the full weight of what I've just witnessed hits me. I slam my fists against the steering wheel, a guttural scream tearing from my throat. The betrayal, the humiliation, it's too much to bear. How could she do this to me? To us? Our marriage wasn't perfect, but I never thought it would come to this. I've been faithful, supportive, everything a husband should be. And this is how she repays me. I can't go back to the house. Not yet. I drive aimlessly for what feels like hours, trying to make sense of the chaos in my head. But no matter how far I drive, I can't escape the image of Lisa on her knees, or the cold, smug look in Dr. Matthews' eyes. Eventually, I pull over in a deserted parking lot and lean back in my seat, staring blankly at the ceiling. I know what I have to do, but the thought of it makes my chest ache. I can't stay with her, not after this. But I can't just walk away, either. She's destroyed everything we've built, and she has to pay for it. The idea takes root in my mind, dark and insidious. I'm going to make them suffer. Both of them. I'll break their miserable lives apart, just like they've broken mine. The anger burns hot and bright, fueling me, giving me the strength to do what I know must be done. I'm not a violent man by nature, but betrayal has a way of changing people. I drive home, my mind already working on a plan. This isn't over, not by a long shot. Lisa and Dr. Matthews think they can get away with this, but they have no idea who they're dealing with. They'll regret the day they crossed me. I sit in my car for what feels like hours, my thoughts swirling like a storm inside my head. The shock is wearing off, replaced by a cold, calculating anger. Lisa's betrayal burns, but it's the humiliation that twists the knife deeper. I can't let this stand. I won't. As I drive back home, I'm already formulating a plan. Revenge isn't just about hurting them, it's about taking back control. I want them to feel what I felt, to know the ground beneath them can crumble without warning. When I walk into the house, the familiar scent of Lisa's perfume lingers in the air, making my stomach churn. Every corner of this place is filled with memories of us, happy, innocent memories that now feel like a cruel joke. I need to get out of here, but first, I need a plan. I pull out my phone and scroll through my contacts until I find the number I'm looking for, Brandon, my oldest friend. Brandon and I go way back, to a time before life got complicated with marriages and careers. We don't talk as often as we used to, but if there's anyone I can count on, it's him. I dial his number, and he picks up on the second ring. Ethan, man. It's been a while. Yeah, it has, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. Listen, I need your help. Can you meet me at the bar? The one we used to go to. There's a pause on the other end. Brandon knows me well enough to sense that something's off. Sure, I can be there in 30 minutes. Everything okay? Not really, I admit, rubbing a hand over my face. I'll explain when I see you. All right. Hang in there. I hang up and head to the bar, the one where we used to spend our Friday nights before life got in the way. It's a dive, the kind of place where the lights are dim and the beer is cheap. Perfect for a night like this. Brandon is already there when I arrive, nursing a bottle of beer. He's always been the reliable type, tall, broad-shouldered, with a face that's seen its share of hard times but never lost its kindness. He looks up as I approach, his expression shifting from concern to alarm when he sees my face. Ethan, what the hell happened? I slide into the booth across from him and order a drink, my hands still trembling. Lisa. She's been cheating on me. Brandon's eyes widen, and he leans forward, lowering his voice. Are you serious? With who? Dr. Matthews, I say bitterly. Caught them in the act this morning. Shit, Brandon mutters, running a hand through his hair. I'm sorry, man. Damn, that's rough. It's more than rough, I say, my voice hardening. It's unacceptable. I need to make them pay for this. Brandon looks at me closely, as if trying to gauge just how serious I am. What are you thinking? I take a deep breath, steadying myself. I want to destroy them. Both of them. But I need your help. He doesn't answer right away, and I can see the gears turning in his mind. Brandon's a good guy, the kind who doesn't go looking for trouble, but he's also fiercely loyal. He finally nods, his jaw set. All right. What's the plan? I need information first. I want to know everything about Dr. Matthews, his practice, his finances, his personal life. I need leverage. And as for Lisa, I need to make sure she feels this, too. I'm thinking about getting a private investigator involved, someone who can dig up dirt on both of them. Brandon listens carefully, nodding along. I might know someone who can help with that. A buddy of mine from work, he's got connections with a PI. He's discreet and good at what he does. Perfect, I say, feeling the first stirrings of hope. And I want to start laying the groundwork for the divorce. I'm not going to let her take me for a ride. I want the house, the assets, everything. Brandon grins, a glint of mischief in his eyes. You know I've got your back. Let's make this happen. We spend the next couple of hours going over the details, our drinks forgotten as we plot out each step. Brandon's contact, a man named Alex, agrees to meet with me the next day. Meanwhile, I start making calls to lawyers, looking for someone who specializes in high-conflict divorces. As the evening wears on, I feel a strange sense of clarity. It's as if everything is falling into place, each piece of the puzzle fitting perfectly. I'm not just reacting anymore, I'm taking control. And it feels good. Before we leave the bar, Brandon clasps my shoulder. You're doing the right thing, Ethan. Don't let them get away with this. I won't, I promise, and I mean it. The fire inside me has only grown stronger, fueled by the knowledge that I'm not alone in this. I have allies, and I'm ready to fight. The next day, I meet with Alex in a small, nondescript office downtown. He's a wiry man with sharp eyes that miss nothing. He listens intently as I lay out the situation, nodding occasionally as if he's already piecing together the strategy. I can get you what you need, Alex says after I finish. Dr. Matthews has a spotless reputation on the surface, but nobody's perfect. I'll dig up whatever I can find. And your wife, well, there's always more to the story than what you see. I'm counting on that, I say, feeling a flicker of anticipation. Alex gives me a thin smile. Give me a few days. I'll be in touch. As I leave his office, I can't help but feel a sense of momentum building. The wheels are in motion, and there's no turning back now. I drive home, my mind already racing with the possibilities of what Alex might uncover. When I pull into the driveway, Lisa's car is there, parked neatly as if nothing has changed. The sight of it makes my blood boil. I take a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. This is just the beginning. I need to play it cool, to act as if I don't know anything. I walk into the house, bracing myself for the confrontation that's coming. Lisa is in the living room, scrolling through her phone, her face a mask of innocence. She looks up as I enter, giving me that same smile that used to make me feel like the luckiest man in the world. Hey, you're home early, she says, setting her phone aside. How was your day? I can't bring myself to look at her. It was fine. Just needed to clear my head. She stands and walks over to me, placing a hand on my arm. The touch is light, familiar, but it feels like a betrayal now. Are you okay? You seem distant. I force a smile, one that I know doesn't reach my eyes. I'm fine. Just tired. She studies me for a moment, her eyes searching mine, and I wonder if she can sense that something's changed. But she doesn't press it, instead leaning in to give me a kiss on the cheek. Why don't we have a quiet night in? Order some takeout, watch a movie. The idea of sitting through a movie with her, pretending everything is normal, makes me feel sick. But I nod anyway. Sure, that sounds good. As she turns away to grab the takeout menus, I watch her carefully, memorizing every detail. This woman, the one I thought I knew so well, has shattered my life. But I won't let her walk away unscathed. The plan is in motion, and soon enough, Lisa and Dr. Matthews will realize just how deep the consequences of their actions go. I'm going to break them, and when I'm done, they'll wish they'd never crossed me. The night passes in a blur of forced conversation and mindless television. Lisa snuggles up against me on the couch, but I don't feel anything but cold detachment. Every smile, every laugh feels like a knife in my gut, but I play along, waiting for the right moment to strike. As she drifts off to sleep beside me, I stare at the ceiling, my mind already working through the next steps. This is just the beginning. The game is on, and I'm ready to play. The next morning, I wake up early, long before Lisa stirs beside me. Her face is peaceful in sleep, as if she has no idea her world is about to come crashing down. I slip out of bed quietly, careful not to wake her, and head downstairs. The house is still, the silence punctuated only by the ticking of the kitchen clock. I pour myself a cup of coffee and sit at the dining table, my mind racing. Today is the day things start to change. I've been patient, playing my part, but now it's time to make my first move. Brandon texted me late last night with an update. Alex found something, and it's big. We're meeting later today to go over the details, but I can't just sit here and wait. I need to stay ahead of this, to keep the momentum going. Lisa appears at the top of the stairs, rubbing sleep from her eyes. She's wearing one of my old shirts, her hair tousled, and for a moment, a pang of something, nostalgia, regret, I'm not sure, hits me. But then I remember what she did, and the feeling hardens into resolve. "Morning," she says, smiling as she pads into the kitchen. She pours herself a cup of coffee and joins me at the table. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," I reply, taking a sip from my mug. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just got some things on my mind," I say, keeping my voice neutral. She nods, not pressing further, and we lapse into a comfortable silence. It's almost like old times, but the undercurrent of tension between us is undeniable. I watch her over the rim of my coffee cup, wondering how much longer I can keep up this charade. "I'm thinking of going into work a bit early today," I say after a while, breaking the silence. "Got some things I need to catch up on." "Oh," she says, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. "I thought maybe we could spend the morning together, since you were home early yesterday." I shake my head. "I'm sorry, but I really need to get on top of some things. Maybe another time." She looks disappointed but doesn't argue. "Okay. Maybe we can do something tonight." "Yeah, maybe," I say, already planning to be anywhere but here by the time evening rolls around. We finish our coffee in silence, and I head upstairs to get ready for the day. As I shower and dress, I feel a strange sense of detachment, as if I'm watching someone else go through the motions of my life. But this is my life, and I'm the one who has to take control of it. By the time I leave the house, Lisa is in the shower, singing softly to herself. The sound grates on my nerves, and I shut the front door a little harder than necessary as I step outside. The air is crisp, the morning sun just beginning to warm the day, but I barely notice. My mind is already on what comes next. I meet Brandon at the bar again, this time in one of the back booths where we're less likely to be overheard. He's got a folder in front of him, thick with papers and photos, and he looks up as I approach, his expression serious. "Morning," he says as I slide into the seat across from him. "Morning," I reply, nodding towards the folder. "Is that it?" "Yeah," he says, opening the folder and spreading the contents out on the table. "Alex really came through. He found a lot more than we expected." I lean forward, scanning the papers and photos. There are bank statements, copies of emails, even some photos of Dr. Matthews with other women, not just Lisa. The bastard has a whole pattern of this behavior, and from the looks of it, he's been careful to keep it hidden. But not careful enough. "This is good," I say, my mind already racing with the possibilities. "Really good." Yeah, but there's more, Brandon says, flipping through the papers until he finds what he's looking for. He pulls out a few pages and hands them to me. These are records from his practice. He's been billing insurance for procedures that were never done, pocketing the money. It's fraud, and if we expose this, it'll ruin him. I stare at the pages, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and vindication. This is perfect. We can take this to the authorities, make sure he loses everything. Brandon nods, but there's a hint of caution in his eyes. We need to be careful with this, Ethan. If we go to the cops, it'll be a long process, and there's no guarantee he'll face real consequences. He's got money, connections. He could slip through the cracks. I know, I say, clenching my fists. But we can't let him get away with this. We won't, Brandon assures me. But we need to be smart about how we play this. We don't want him to see us coming. I take a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. He's right. We need to be strategic, to make sure this hits Dr. Matthews where it hurts the most. I flip through the pages again, my mind already working through the next steps. Let's start by leaking some of this, I suggest. We can send it anonymously to his insurance company, maybe even some of his patients. Once they start asking questions, the whole thing will unravel. Brandon nods, a slow smile spreading across his face. I like it. And while we're at it, we can start planting seeds with Lisa, make her think something's wrong. Get her to start questioning him. I grin, the satisfaction of a well-laid plan settling over me. Exactly. She'll start pulling away from him, and when everything comes crashing down, she'll be left with nothing. We spend the next hour going over the details, planning out every move with the precision of a chess game. By the time we're done, I feel more in control than I have in weeks. The pieces are falling into place, and I'm ready to see this through. Before we part ways, Brandon claps me on the back. We've got this, Ethan. Just keep your head in the game. I will, I promise, shaking his hand. Thanks for being here, man. I couldn't do this without you. Anytime, he says, his expression serious. Now go make them pay. I leave the bar feeling more determined than ever. The drive to the office is a blur, my mind focused on the plan. When I arrive, I head straight to my desk, pulling up the email addresses for Dr. Matthews' insurance provider and a few of his patients that I recognize from the photos Alex provided. I type out an anonymous email, attaching the evidence of fraud and sending it off with a sense of grim satisfaction. It's only the first step, but it's a crucial one. Once the questions start, they won't stop until Dr. Matthews is buried in his own lies. Next, I turn my attention to Lisa. I know her well enough to know that she'll be at home, probably planning our dinner or running errands. I decide to plant the first seed of doubt, texting her from a burner phone I picked up on the way to work. You don't know me, but you should know that Dr. Matthews isn't who he says he is. Be careful. I hit send and lean back in my chair, waiting. The minutes tick by, and just when I'm about to give up, my phone buzzes with a reply. Who is this? What are you talking about? I don't respond. I want her to stew, to start questioning everything. I can almost see her now, pacing the living room, phone in hand, her mind racing. She'll try to brush it off, but the seed is planted, and it will grow. The rest of the day passes in a haze of anticipation. I'm barely able to focus on my work, my mind constantly drifting back to the plan, to the next steps. When I finally head home, I'm a bundle of nerves, eager to see how Lisa reacts. I walk through the door, bracing myself for whatever comes next. Lisa is in the kitchen, her back to me as she chops vegetables for dinner. She doesn't look up when I enter, and I can tell something is off. Hey, I say, hanging my coat on the hook. How was your day? Fine, she replies, her voice tight. She doesn't elaborate, and I know she's waiting for me to say something, to explain the strange text she received earlier. But I keep my expression neutral, playing dumb. Anything interesting happen? I ask, leaning against the counter. She hesitates, her hands stilling over the cutting board. I got a weird text today. Someone saying that I should be careful around Dr. Matthews. I raise an eyebrow, feigning surprise. That's odd. Did they say why? No, she says, shaking her head. It's probably just a prank. Maybe, I agree, though the doubt is already creeping into her voice. You should be careful, though. You never know with these things. She nods, but I can see the gears turning in her mind, the seeds of doubt taking root. She'll start watching Dr. Matthews more closely, questioning every interaction. And when the truth finally comes out, she'll have nowhere to turn. As we sit down to dinner, the tension between us is palpable. Every smile, every word feels forced, like we're both playing parts in a play neither of us wants to be in. But I keep up the act, knowing that the real payoff is yet to come. After dinner, Lisa retreats to the living room, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. I can tell she's waiting for another message, another clue to the puzzle she didn't even know she was a part of. But I leave her to stew, heading upstairs to plan my next move. The night stretches on, the house filled with a heavy silence. I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with anticipation. This is just the beginning. The game is in motion, and I'm ready for whatever comes next. In the quiet of the night, I can almost hear the pieces falling into place, each one bringing me closer to the reckoning I crave. And when it finally comes, Lisa and Dr. Matthews won't know what hit them. The days pass slowly, each one filled with tension and unease. Lisa is on edge, her behavior growing more erratic with every passing hour. The anonymous text has done its job, and she's beginning to unravel. She's been asking more questions, her eyes darting around nervously whenever I mention Dr. Matthews. I can tell she's suspicious, but she's too afraid to confront the truth head-on. Meanwhile, the fallout from the anonymous email I sent to Dr. Matthews' insurance company is starting to make waves. Brandon and I have been keeping close tabs on the situation, and it's clear that the authorities are beginning to sniff around. It's only a matter of time before everything comes crashing down on him. One evening, I come home to find Lisa pacing the living room, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. Her eyes are red, as if she's been crying, and the moment she sees me, she rushes over, shoving her phone in my face. "Ethan, look at this," she exclaims, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and desperation. I take the phone from her, pretending to study the message on the screen. It's from an unknown number, just like the first one. "You've been warned. Don't trust him." I hand the phone back to her, feigning concern. "Lisa, I don't know what's going on, but you need to be careful. Maybe it's time to distance yourself from Dr. Matthews." Her face crumples, and she sinks onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "I don't know what to do, Ethan. I feel like I'm losing my mind. First the text, and now this. I just don't know what to believe anymore." I sit beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Maybe it's time to take a step back. Focus on us, on our marriage. We can get through this together." She looks up at me, her eyes searching mine for reassurance, for something solid to cling to. But all she finds is the cold determination I've been hiding behind a mask of concern. That night, I lie awake, my mind racing. The plan is moving faster than I anticipated. Lisa's unraveling, Dr. Matthews is under scrutiny, and everything is coming to a head. But something still gnaws at me, a feeling I can't quite shake. It's as if I'm standing on the edge of a precipice, waiting for the ground to give way beneath me. The next morning, I receive a call from Brandon. His voice is tense, filled with an urgency that sets my nerves on edge. "Ethan, we need to talk. Meet me at the bar. Now." I don't waste any time. I grab my keys and head out the door, telling Lisa I'll be back later. She barely acknowledges me, lost in her own world of confusion and doubt. When I arrive at the bar, Brandon is already there, nursing a drink. He looks up as I approach, his face set in grim lines. "What's going on?" I ask, sliding into the booth across from him. He takes a deep breath, running a hand through his hair. "Ethan, there's something you need to know. Something Alex found." My heart skips a beat. "What is it?" Brandon hesitates, then reaches into his jacket and pulls out a small stack of photos. He slides them across the table, his expression dark. "Look for yourself." I pick up the photos, my hands trembling slightly. They're grainy, taken from a distance, but the figures are unmistakable. It's Lisa, and Dr. Matthews. But these aren't just photos of them together. They're photos of them meeting with someone else, someone I recognize all too well. "Alex," I whisper, my voice barely audible. Brandon nods, his jaw clenched. "He's been playing both sides, Ethan. Feeding you information while keeping tabs on you and Lisa for Dr. Matthews. They're in on it together." The revelation hits me like a punch to the gut. I feel the room spin around me, my vision blurring with the shock of betrayal. Everything I thought I knew, everything I had planned, was built on lies. What the hell is going on?" I manage to choke out, my voice thick with disbelief. Brandon's eyes are hard, his voice steady. "It was a setup, Ethan. Dr. Matthews and Alex planned this from the start. They knew you'd come after them, and they used it to their advantage. Lisa, she's been in on it too." The ground beneath me crumbles, and I'm falling into a void I can't escape from. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, was part of a plot to destroy me. But why? I ask, my voice shaking with the effort to keep my emotions in check. Why would she do this? "Money," Brandon says simply. "And power." Dr. Matthews was planning to expand his practice, but he needed investors. Lisa's been funneling money to him through your accounts. She's been preparing to leave you, take everything, and run. The room feels like it's closing in on me, the walls pressing in until I can barely breathe. I'm caught in a web of deceit so intricate, so well crafted, that I never saw it coming. They played me like a puppet, pulling my strings while I danced to their tune. The rage that boils up inside me is unlike anything I've ever felt before. It's pure, unadulterated fury, and it consumes me, burning away the last vestiges of the man I once was. "We need to end this," I say, my voice low and deadly. Brandon nods, his expression mirroring my own. "I've already got a plan. Alex doesn't know we're onto him yet, so we still have the element of surprise. We'll turn the tables on them, make them think they're still in control until it's too late." I nod, the fire of vengeance fueling my every thought. "Let's do it." That evening, I return home, my mind already working through the plan Brandon and I devised. The house is quiet, the tension thick in the air. Lisa is in the kitchen, her back to me as she washes dishes. She doesn't hear me enter, and for a moment, I just stand there, watching her, wondering how I could have been so blind. "Lisa," I say, my voice cutting through the silence like a knife. She turns, startled, her eyes wide as she sees the look on my face. "Ethan, what's wrong?" "We need to talk," I say, my voice cold, devoid of the warmth I once felt for her. She sets the dish down, drying her hands as she walks over to me. "Ethan, you're scaring me. What's going on?" I take a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "I know everything, Lisa. About you, Dr. Matthews, and Alex. I know what you've been doing behind my back." Her face pales, and she takes a step back, her eyes darting to the door as if she's contemplating making a run for it. But she doesn't. Instead, she straightens, her expression hardening into something cold and unrecognizable. "So you know," she says, her voice flat. "What are you going to do about it?" I stare at her, my heart pounding in my chest. This is the moment of truth, the moment where everything comes to a head. I step closer, my voice low and deadly. I'm going to make sure you never forget what you did to me. She flinches, but there's no fear in her eyes, only defiance. You don't scare me, Ethan. You never have. I feel the rage boiling over, and before I know it, I'm reaching for my phone, dialing a number I've been saving for just this moment. Lisa watches me, her expression unreadable. Who are you calling? She asks, her voice tight with suspicion. You'll see, I say, my tone laced with venom. The phone rings twice before someone picks up. This is Detective Harding. This is Ethan Blake, I say, my voice steady. I have some information you'll be interested in. It's about Dr. Matthews and his practice. Fraud, insurance scams, and a few other things. There's a pause on the other end, then the detective's voice returns, sharper, more focused. Go on. I keep my eyes locked on Lisa's as I speak, watching the color drain from her face with every word. I lay it all out, the fraud, the conspiracy, the plot to ruin me. I give the detective everything, sparing no detail. When I finally hang up, the silence between us is thick with tension. Lisa's face is a mask of fury, but there's also something else there, fear. You think you're so clever, she spits, her voice trembling with rage. But you have no idea what you've just done. Oh, I know exactly what I've done, I reply, my voice calm, controlled. You're going down, Lisa. You and everyone who helped you. This is over. She stares at me, her eyes burning with hatred. You'll regret this, Ethan. I promise you that. I've already regretted everything, I say, my voice cold and final. But I'm done with regrets. This is goodbye, Lisa. I turn and walk away, leaving her standing there, seething with rage. As I step out of the house, I feel a strange sense of peace wash over me. The storm has passed, and I'm finally free of the web of lies and deceit that trapped me. The next few days are a blur of police interviews, legal consultations, and the slow unraveling of Dr. Matthews and Lisa's carefully constructed lives. The fraud is exposed, the conspiracy laid bare for all to see. And as the pieces fall into place, I watch with cold satisfaction as their lives crumble around them. Lisa is charged with conspiracy to commit fraud, along with Dr. Matthews and Alex. The evidence is damning, and they have no choice but to face the consequences of their actions. When it's all over, I stand alone in the empty house that was once filled with so much promise. I pack my bags, leaving behind the remnants of a life I no longer recognize. As I walk out the door for the last time, I take one final look at the place where it all fell apart. The anger, the betrayal, the pain, they're all still there, but they no longer have a hold on me. I've won, but the victory is hollow, tainted by the loss of everything I once held dear. I'm free, but I'm also alone, and as I walk away, I realize that some wounds will never fully heal. The past is behind me now, and as I step into the unknown, I know there's no going back. The people I loved, the life I built, it's all gone, shattered by the cruelty of betrayal. But I survived, and that's all that matters. The road ahead is uncertain, but it's mine to walk, free of the lies that once bound me. And as I take my first step forward, I leave behind the ashes of what was, ready to face whatever comes next.